It's no secret that boxing can be a brutal sport.
He's allowing Mike Tyson to trap him in the corner.
At the Hail Mary right hand. I know I'm going to land it somewhere here. And Tillman never responded at all to Richard Steele's count.
Can he stay on his feet?
What a left hook shot!
With 4 more straight left. Arthur McCanny watching. And it's over. It is over.
We've obviously come a long way since the days of no gloves and the Marquis of Queensberry's rules, but there's one moment, and in fact one fight, that changed boxing history and regulation forever.
We are ready to go with round number 1 scheduled for 15. And there's the bell, and we are underway, and the Korean comes out swinging.
In the 1980s, boxing was as popular as it had ever been. Massive fights were shown on ABC and CBS in the US to millions and millions of viewers. And with fighters like Muhammad Ali and then Sugar Ray Leonard appearing on countless talk shows and magazine covers, the sport had come incredibly far.
You think I can ever float like a butterfly?
Damn, well,
Sting like a bee?
you got the butterfly part down, Brother Michael, and you sing Little Sweet to complete the cycle. But before you can sting people out of their wits, you gotta put on some meat and keep on eating your grits.
And when a big fight was happening, the world watched.
The moment is here. Roberto Duran challenging Sugar Ray Leonard.
But regulation at the time was still a far cry from what we have today. Fights would often go 15 hellish rounds. There was still very little medical oversight given to the fighters before the fights, and no one really knew just how much weight cutting and bad safety precautions was really hurting the sport. But that all changed after one tragic fight, a bout that began with dreams of glory and ended with a death that rocked the boxing world. I'm Bayliun, and this is the story of the boxing fight that changed history.
Before we answer the bell to the rest of the video, I want to talk about today's sponsor, you. The sport's greatest champions need rock-solid support to get to the next level, and we're no different. That's why we've launched the Modern Martial Artist Patreon with 4 tiers: Sparring Partner, Fighter, Champion, and Legend. Because, with your help, the channel can tackle bigger and better projects as we go from a respected champ to the top of the pound-for-pound list. But what if you sign up right now? I'm happy you asked. For all patrons at the Fighter tier and above, the team has been putting in some extra road work to bring you 3 patron-exclusive videos each and every month. This month's batch covers UFC lightweight GOAT Khabib Nurmagomedov, the lineal MMA heavyweight champion, the Predator Francis Ngannou, and the incredible first meeting between Dustin Poirier and Justin Gaethje. But it's not over yet. There's something for patrons at every tier. But I'll mention the highlights. Monthly polls about which fighters to cover, bi-monthly live chats, an exclusive community, in-roll shoutouts, and much, much more. Of course, every view, like, and share is instrumental in helping the channel, and the team is extremely grateful. But if you like what we do and want to see even more, sign up for the Modern Martial Artist Patreon today.
This fight in question took place in 1982. Big names at the time were guys like Roberto Duran,
14. And Duran scores with a couple of punches, but again, Benitez is not going anywhere.
Thomas Hearns,
Good jab and a right hand that might have hurt him. Tremendous pace in the first
and of course Sugar Ray Leonard. The majority of the best fighters were coming out of the US and South America, but one place that hadn't really been acknowledged for its boxing stripes yet was Korea. And there was one young boxer on the rise who had more motivation than anyone to prove his country and himself to be among the best in the world. This fighter's name was Kim Duk-Koo.
And there is the challenger for Boom Boom Mancini today. Number 1 ranked in the world by the WBA, Duk-Koo Kim from Korea. And there is a contingent of Korean fans from the Los Angeles area that has traveled here to Las Vegas.
He'd been born in an area of South Korea still absolutely ravaged by the end of the Korean War, and as a result grew up in about the worst poverty you could imagine, in a large family that had pretty much nothing. He had no father, no food, no education, absolutely nothing that would make you think he had any chance of breaking out of the cycle of poverty he was born into. But of course, these kinds of upbringings can create some of the hardest people on the planet. He didn't even find boxing until his early 20s, an age most people would tell you is too late to start any serious pro career. But once he did find it, he saw it as his only way out of his terrible circumstances. Kim became as obsessed as anyone ever has with the sport, dedicating himself at every moment of every day to becoming a fighter that could challenge for life-changing purses. In just 3 years, and by the age of 23, he rose through the boxing world ranks, racking up 17 wins with just 1 loss, being notorious as an unrelenting force of nature, with impossible stamina and a relentless will to run through anyone that stood in front of him. As a southpaw, he'd throw thunderous shots to the body, and by 1982 he'd risen all the way to the rank of number 1 contender in his weight class on the global stage. Something unheard of for Korean boxers at the time, and more importantly, he had earned a shot at the WBA lightweight title, ready to make history for his country, but also finally save himself and his family. That title shot though came against none other than Ray Boom Boom Mancini. A young champion at just 21 years old, but absolutely beloved in America. Despite his small size, even for the weight class, he boxed with lightning fast hands, threw in combination with power, and had a reputation for just all action wars.
Ray Boom Boom Mancini exploded onto the national scene in May of 1981, scoring a 9th round knockout for the NABF Lightweight Championship over Jorge Morales.
In his own short career, he himself had already racked up a 24-1 record, and he had his own motivations. Coming from a long line of boxers from an early age, all he wanted to do was make it to a world championship and win the belt for his father, something he promised him he'd do from childhood.
It's a feeling of relief that I finally reached my goal. It was so hard to get to that, I worked so hard to get it, I'm not about to give it up now.
After he won the WBC title, he started defending it and winning all his fights by TKO, swarming opponents, his only loss coming in a fight that had gone past the 10th round, something himself he'd only done once.
Mancini was leading on cards through the 10th round, but he was stopped in the 14th by the big right hand of Arguello.
In July of '82, Ray defended his belt against Ernesto Espana and scored a 6th round TKO. With plenty of new challengers waiting in the line, including Mayweather Sr., Ray had his work cut out for him. But the number 1 contender, Kim, was going to be given his shot. An opportunity for Korea to fight live in Vegas and on national television, going out to millions of homes across the country and the world. Most people and media dismissed the Korean as just another challenger, but Ray had been watching tape, and he knew that Kim fought with a hunger and ferocity seldom seen in the sport. While everyone else thought it would be another TKO victory, Ray expected nothing short of a war, and that's exactly what he got. The fight was going down at Caesars Palace in Vegas, but with Koreans being the 3rd largest foreign group in California at the time, the venue was also packed with Kim's fellow countrymen, ready to cheer him on for a chance at a lifetime, a chance to change his life.
And there is the challenger for Boom Boom Mancini today, number 1 ranked in the world by the WBA, Duk-Koo Kim from Korea.
It's been with me forever. It was a great fight. Yeah. It was a great fight. And it would be one of the fights you'd be seeing on ESPN Classic all the time. But because of it, there's nothing good. Nothing good about it now.
From the very first round, Kim let Ray know exactly what kind of fight it was going to be. The bell had barely rung. Kim, a southpaw, kept a good distance before stepping in with heavy body shots. The champ Ray was trying to jab and circle, but Kim was already throwing with thunderous power.
That left jab and
Both men continued to trade back and forth in the early rounds, but Kim was hanging in the pocket in the firing range and loaded up on his big left hand. Kim kept up this relentless pace, staying toe-to-toe, determined to break Ray down, but his own left hook was starting to find its way around the defense of Kim.
Round number 5, scheduled for 15. And Mancini wobbles Kim with that left hand, catching him off balance, trying to follow up on it. Mancini with uppercuts inside, but
Then, for the first time, Ray swarmed, just chaining combinations of punches. But every time Kim backed up, he'd cover and get back on the inside and just dig back again to Ray's body. He was chasing the champ down, gunning for the KO. This fight was very quickly turning into an all-out war. Around the halfway point, the fight had been non-stop action and they both showed no signs of slowing down. And at the end of the 7th, the challenger looked like he'd hurt the champion.
I mean, I was hitting this guy with shots, and then, and no matter what, he'd always come back after each round. He'd be pushing me back, banging me. It was the only fight I ever thought of in the middle of the fight. I said, man, I don't want to do the next round. I want to quit.
Yeah.
Because my body was hurting so bad. My head was hurting so bad.
For as much heart as the underdog Kim was showing in taking it to the champion, Ray himself was also absorbing tons of punishment, but both men were determined not to break. This pace continued, but it seemed as they entered the 10th round, Kim was the one starting to slow down. He found himself with his back to the ropes and Ray just would not stop firing. It was a clear round for Ray and it seemed like the champ was starting to take over. As Kim was throwing his long straight left, Ray was getting to the outside of it to counter back with his right. And soon enough, he timed an uppercut perfectly. Kim was staggering around on his feet just trying to survive, but he refused to drop to the canvas. Clearly, with nothing left, Kim kept marching forward.
Mancini's doing the right thing now, Tim. He's peppering him. You don't have to punch hard with guys in Kim's condition. Just put them together. Never mind one big punch. Not necessary.
under a minute to go in round 12.
Until this fight, Kim had never gone past 12 rounds. He'd given everything he had and Ray was still coming. He himself had rarely fought this long, but was not going down, and as Kim's gas tank started to fade in round 13, he was just under a non-stop assault from Mancini.
Trainer said he brought a coffin and put it in the room when he was training.
Yeah.
And he said to people, either I'm coming home in that or Mancini's coming home in that, going home in that. That's scary. And that's scary to think that he had that mindset to know that he was going to come one way or the other.
Ray was throwing all he had at Kim, who somehow stayed on his feet trying to stay in the fight. The left hook Ray, though, had been looking for finally broke through, and for a second, Kim hit the canvas. He'd given everything to win this fight, but as the bell rang for the 14th round, he met Mancini in the middle of the ring. They went toe-to-toe again, but Ray's left hook landed as they exchanged. And one final straight right sent Kim collapsing to the canvas. It was an incredible show of heart from both men, and a championship performance from Ray to defend his title. After the final bell rung and referee Richard Green waved off the fight, no one but the ringside physicians really knew, though, what was happening to Kim. They described how his pupils began to dilate as his pulse rapidly started falling as he faded and collapsed off the stool into unconsciousness and was carried out on a stretcher, rushed immediately to the hospital. The doctors found a blood clot in his brain caused by a torn vein which had caused bleeding and high pressure inside his head. The news that he was in such critical condition was a massive shock to Ray when he found out, and he was completely mortified. Kim's family was flown in from Korea, but sadly, after 3 days of being on life support, he was pronounced dead.
The body of Duk-Koo Kim will be flown to Korea today for burial. The young boxer died during the night after doctors declared him legally dead and disconnected his life support system.
More than anything, the idea that it could have been Ray that night and not Kim absolutely tortured Mancini. He would stare at his own hands and could not believe that they had taken a life. The only thing that carried him through was his faith in God, and he was never the same fighter again. His joy and his passion was completely gone, and apparently he couldn't even speak Kim's name for several years. There had been no quit at all from the Korean in the fight. His fiancée at the time was 3 months pregnant with his unborn child, and supposedly that and the chance to win a title for his country and revert the poverty his family had suffered all their life had driven him past the point any normal human would have quit. A note was found in Kim's hotel room before the fight, written on a lampshade that read "Live or Die." Kim's death, though, triggered an unprecedented reckoning in boxing, a sweeping change where new results and regulations were discussed and put into place to make the sport safer and ensure this kind of thing could never happen again. Fights were reduced from 15 to 12 rounds by the WBC within months. The WBA and IBF soon followed. This change alone may have saved countless lives, as the extra rounds seemed to always demand more from the fighters. The standing 8 count as we now know it was also implemented into boxing, allowing more time for the referees to decide if the fight should continue and give more chances for fights to be stopped before fighters suffered irreparable damage. As well as this, all medical protocols were overhauled by the commissions. This meant they were going to be much more thorough pre-fight exams and mandatory post-fight monitoring for fighters after difficult wars as well, and the ringside physicians were given more authority to stop fights they saw as becoming too dangerous. Before this fight, all fighters needed to get checked was their blood pressure and their heartbeat. Now they needed MRI brain scans, lung scans, a battery of blood and eye tests, and all kinds of measures put in place to keep fighters safe. And I'm sure all of this over the years has helped prevent more accidents from happening. Referees were now also empowered and in some ways encouraged to stop fights sooner, to think about what had happened and to do so without fan, boxer or even media backlash about their decisions. And in the same way, because of the tragedy, corners were encouraged to throw the towel in without shame and do the same thing. Maybe most importantly as well, weight cutting came under new scrutiny and commissions began to take a more active role in fighter health and safety. They actively decided to move the weigh-ins earlier so boxers had more time to recover and to rehydrate. Because something else that was looked into with the Mancini-Kim fight is just how much weight supposedly the Korean had to cut to make the lightweight limit. Ray Leonard himself, who was there, has said about the fight that he thought Kim was dehydrated more than anything, and that's what cost him his life. But unfortunately, the tragedy didn't stop affecting lives there. Kim's mother reportedly took her own life after there had been arguments in the family regarding the insurance money from his death, just $25,000, but it had caused so much further grief that Kim's mother could simply not handle it.
They said because of there's so much infighting on with the family about his money, the insurance money, and whatever he had. There was so much infighting that she couldn't take it, and so she took her own life. Yeah.
And that, of course, brought the story back into the headlines. Ray, of course, would carry the weight of the fight with him forever. He blamed himself for Kim's death and tried to leave the sport, but was convinced to return by his friends.
I'm told that my name is very recognized. Everyone seems to know it because they've been taught about him in, they call it the fight. You know, they've accepted me. They've certainly adopted me in many ways and embraced me as one of their own, because they said they feel that Kim's spirit is living through me.
But even he was not the same fighter when he returned, although Kim's family later would forgive him. And Kim's 3-month pregnant fiancée married him posthumously. It's also sad to say as well, but the referee in charge of the fight, Richard Green, would also take his own life shortly after, racked with guilt but also with other battles he was also fighting.
Yeah. There was nothing Richard could have done, step in sooner or anything. It wasn't anything like I was beating Kim, and Richard let it go on. It was one punch in the middle of the ring, in the middle of an exchange. That when he took his life, it was a barrage of things. There were a lot of things.
Kim Duk-Koo's name is attached to boxing in a way in Korea that is hard to explain. On the one hand, it's an extreme cautionary tale and tragedy, but he's also a hero for his courage and absolute show of heart when he had nothing left to give. More importantly as well though, his life and death served as a turning point for everyone to consider how boxing values human life, how any fight could indeed be a boxer's last, and how important it is that that fact be remembered. All of these reforms that came out of this fight definitely haven't ended boxing's dangers, but they definitely also mark the beginning of a more humane approach to combat sports.
General MacArthur once said the Korean was the finest fighting man in the world. And once I saw the fight, I kind of saw what MacArthur meant. Duk-Koo Kim died that day because they fought at a level where somebody was gonna die.
Again, if you like what we do here at the Modern Martial Artist, become a patron today at Fighter or Above to gain access to 3 exclusive videos you can't see on YouTube.